Hi, I'm Will Slickers, and you're listening to Good Morning Hospitality. And this episode is brought to you by our friends at Sojo. Now, you probably heard us talk about Sojo before, and why should you care about an amenity company? Well, I'm here to tell you that Sojo is more than just amenities. They're actually a software and tech company, and the byproduct of their software and tech is the amenity delivery and logistics. So, just like how we went from tape charts to property management softwares, from Excel spreadsheets to dynamic pricing, now we're going from the shopping cart, digital or in person, to Sojo. You make turnover days suck a lot less by automating the bullshit that goes into turning over a vacation home. Get Sojo with the link in the show notes and make sure you get 30 days free by using our link directly. You won't regret it, so get Sojo.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey,
We're in.
we
back.
are in. We're back. Oh my gosh. Okay. You know what I think I'm going to start doing moving forward? We'll figure out how to do this technically, but I think I'm going to have to start each episode with some random song playing in the background. So if you're down for that,
All right, producers,
Steve.
let's figure this out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Claire's going to be like, what are you getting me signed up for? A party in the morning. That's what I'm getting me signed up for. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Good Morning Hospitality. We are going to be covering a lot of great topics today. And why don't we go ahead and do a roll call? We've got a couple people that are already joining in. I see Jeremy Weiss is joining us. You're in Israel. I know that. So that's why I can say that on your behalf. Oh, wow. From Tanzania. Oh, so on my list, I need to go to Tanzania. What else? Jason, tell us where you're joining from. I mean, I have an idea, SoCal. But everybody else, let us know where you're joining in from. In the meantime, by the way, what happened right before we went live, and I'm going to do this to Steve because it was amazing. Steve, what was your little radio thing that you did right before we went live? You have to grace everybody with your presence.
Listen, what stays backstage or what happens backstage stays backstage. But we'll just say Steve was coming live from the 305. Bring the energy today. We're just doing some rapping in the back.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, we're definitely going to start with some fun energy moving forward because why not? So, my gosh, you got to bring the laughs, especially when it's early in the morning. So today we've got some interesting topics that we're going to be talking about. I'm sure many of you have been following along with what was going on with the Vegas hackers. We'll talk about that. And actually, it's been happening in other cities that Steve shared some intel with me on that. So we'll dive into that. And then also talking about what's going on in New York City. There's a change in accommodation offerings that's going to be impacting tourists. And then even just looking forward, travel spending is going to be increasing and people are going to be paying those prices. So I guess why don't we go ahead and dive in?
We got to add one more. The Sarah was just on TV this morning talking about fall travel. So we're going to get her tips for fall travel as well this show.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We're officially in it. All the best part of the season coming.
We're totally in it. Totally in it. So well, why don't we go ahead and kind of start on this first topic here. These Vegas hackers. So for those that maybe didn't hear or weren't paying attention, there were a couple of big hotels in the Vegas area that basically had hackers that, I mean, they were under a cyber attack. They were freezing everything. People couldn't run credit cards. People couldn't check in. They couldn't issue keys. Mm-hmm. It was insane. And it was taking people hours to check in, those that were still, committed to coming there and staying at that property. And this happened, they were basically held for ransom, so to speak, for 10 days. That is insane.
That's crazy. And plus all the slot machines weren't working. Nothing was working on the casino floors. Bananas if you're traveling there. And just, I can only imagine what those hoteliers were going through and the panic and sweat for not just one day, for 10 days, it looks
10
like, and
days.
almost 2 weeks it was going on.
Yeah.
So it's just wild to see that we're so connected with technology that
100%.
it's not like the old days where you talk to some of the hoteliers that we talked to old school, where they used to have keys that they just hand you a key. And if you needed to check in, they wrote down on a piece of paper. So now people can break in, and
Or a
it's
Post-it.
happening. And they've got a
Exactly.
cool name. It's called the Scattered Spider Group, and they're not sure where they're coming from, but they
Yeah.
speak native English, and it sounds like the way they're getting in. And if you were listening to us live, give us some comments of what you've heard too, or what you've seen at your hotel, is that they're getting in by using a person's name on LinkedIn, checking LinkedIn or checking social media and saying, "Hey, this is Steve Turk. I just got back from some time off. My passwords aren't working. Can you help reset them for me?" And they're
Isn't that
sending
insane?
emails as somebody to another person that would be a normal email, and they're clicking on it and breaking in, and then
Yep.
holding these hotels hostage for tens of millions of dollars.
Mhm. And to give you an idea, I thought that these numbers were pretty interesting. I mean, okay, look, everything is bigger in Vegas. You've got like the sheer volume that they're doing, but Caesars, for example, um, is like, to give you an idea, their computer shutdown cost the company approximately $8 million a day. So if you're looking at 8 million times 10, that's like costing them about $80 million. Now, keep in mind, they're doing about 14 billion in revenue in a year, which on average, it means that they're doing about 270 million in revenue a week, so to speak. But like that's still a lot. That's a huge impact. And again, as you mentioned, Steve, we are so interconnected. We're so reliant on technology that, I mean, I think if anything, this just shows that hotel companies really, really need to double down on their security measures and do intense training for their employees, because this was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and I'll say from what we were talking about before was I was in we won't mention the hotel, but a mega hotel, one of the bigger ones here in South Florida, sitting with the general manager as it had happened the day before. And so they were dealing with getting hacked. And his quote to me was, it was like almost a joke, like, "We do not negotiate with terrorists. We are not paying them anything. We are shutting down the operation." They did everything by paper. They called Oracle, rebuilt their whole system.
Really?
And they did it over 7 days, rebuilt it from scratch as best they could. They lost a lot of guest information,
Yeah,
but
of
they were
course.
not going to pay because they said, "Look, they're always going to keep coming back or try to keep attacking
This
us
is
if we do."
true. This is
So,
true. Wow.
mhm,
Wow. That's crazy. And to give you guys an idea as far as like what type of numbers they were holding for ransom, different hotels for them than what Steve was talking about. But Caesars, for example, in Vegas, or technically based in Reno, I
Reno,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah, Caesars in Reno. They reportedly paid 15 million of a 30 million ransom. So they were like, that's just crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But like, I mean, they got to return to business. So I get it. Wait, Jason Hernandez actually wrote an interesting comment. It's better to invest in a secure networking system upfront 100% than pay for downtime or lost revenue. Also, not even that. It's also your reputation, because I'm
Mhm.
sure anybody that happened to be there over that time that had to go through that experience would be highly turned off moving forward. And not only that, but their names being blasted all over the news, people are going to feel less comfortable sharing their information with some of these bigger companies. So yeah, security should be number one for sure.
Yeah, and some training that we had at my last hotel
Mm,
was they would test us. So they would send us emails that looked fishy, and we didn't
that's crazy.
know they were testing us, and we had to catch that email and report it back to our corporate office, and they would give us a report card that said, "Steve, you clicked on 3 out of 10 spam emails. You could have cost our company millions of dollars, and if you kept failing, you were not going to be there very long." So you had to go through all this training and action planning to make sure you were catching these things because it's happening more and more.
That's
And I'm
a
sure.
great example, because again, what makes hospitality so wonderful is the human aspect, because it's made up of so many people that are doing all their jobs. But you are only as strong as your weakest link, so to speak. So whether that is your weakest performing employee that's delivering service, whether it's your employee that's more likely going to click on a link and get you exposed as far as
Hmm.
security wise. So I think, by the way, that's a wonderful thing that your last company did, Steve, and something that if your company, whoever's listening, if your company is not doing that, you should be investing in it, especially after what we've seen over the past couple of weeks in regards to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of great companies out there. Search for them, team up with them.
Yeah,
Pay up front so you don't have to pay a ton later, right? Do the
100%.
homework now, be ready. Because now
100%.
it's going to happen more and more, especially after all these other smaller hackers start seeing, all right, I can make, I'm not 15 million, but maybe I can get 500,000 out of a smaller company.
I
Um,
mean, I think, yeah, a lot of people would. Yes, I'm not encouraging this. I'm just
no,
saying that
but
those are
listen, there's bad
those
people
are real
out there.
numbers.
Protect yourselves, people. Protect yourselves out
Exactly.
there.
Protect yourself. Exactly. Just like you would at home. Keep that in mind when you are at work. So, all right, let's kind of shift gears a bit and talk a little bit about what's going on in New York.
Hmm.
Now, this was interesting because Steve, you were actually mentioned in this article. Kudos
Got
to
fancy.
you.
Yeah. Hey,
Nancy.
Business
Oh,
Insider.
wow. So for those that might not have heard, there's been a big change that's happening in New York. A lot of it actually had to do with Airbnb. They've made these changes that new regulations. And by the way, Steve, correct me if I miss
No, you're on it.
say anything, but they made these new regulations that basically, if you have an Airbnb property in New York, you're not able to basically put your space up on Airbnb unless you are also staying in the property. So kind of going back to their roots where you're literally renting out a room and
Hmm.
the actual person is staying there. So that changes the game for a lot of people because I know. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, look at your face, Steve. You're like,
Yeah,
oh
it's
my God.
look, I love both sides of this because I'm also in the short-term rental, vacation rental world.
Sure.
And so my eyes are on that, but I'm also part of the hotel world. And so I can see both sides of this argument. But 15,000 listings came down basically in a week in
It's
New York
insane.
City. So think
That's
about it, that's
insane.
15,000 less accommodations, not just rooms, because some of these are multiple rooms. So you could just
Yeah.
round it up and maybe you're in the 20s and 30,000 less places to stay. And so there's a clear winner, right? If there's that many less
100%.
places to stay, who's going to win? Are the hotels. And
Yeah.
so, look, I love my hotel, your friends and brothers and sisters, and they're going to see a lot higher average daily rates with this coming, especially during the holiday season that we'll talk
Oh,
about,
100%.
right? And but for the people who own vacation rentals, it's tough because you build this whole company up, this whole vision, especially the people who are doing it the right way, and then all of a sudden overnight, your company's done. It's tough.
So here playing a little bit of devil's advocate here that and which I don't always do, but
I like it. Let's
I
see.
mean I mean uh it's New York City. Like it's funny because just I think it was actually just before this was announced, somebody reached out to me and she's like, "Oh, do you know any cheap places to stay in New York City?" And I'm like, "Girl, I get it. I'm all for budgets. Like I understand. But I'm like, it's New York City. It you can't in my mind I'm like, why would you expect it to be cheap to stay in New
Hmm.
York? So I mean there is an element that it's like, I mean that's kind of like the the cost of entry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean I know that that's a little bit pessimistic, but I also think at the same time it's like where there's a will there's a way. So then fine, maybe stay in Brooklyn. Fine, maybe stay in New Jersey and like in Hoboken and like take the train over. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's a very authentic experience. So I don't know. I think there's like different ways around it. And if you are looking at yeah, I mean, I get it. It's expensive to even live in New York City. So you've got people making all sorts of different arguments about the short-term rental space
Yeah.
in the city. I don't know. It's
Like
it's a
you
tough
said, there's
call.
some people who it's expensive to live there, and they bought townhomes with separate entrances to places
Mhm.
below that they were renting out in short
Yeah,
term to cover their mortgage. So there's a lot of people who were just doing this for a little bit of side business, but there were also some bad actors that were taking
yeah,
up entire floors and buildings without the proper approval. And not following the laws and not paying certain taxes. So I am a big believer in, if you're going to do short-term rental, vacation rental, that you play by the rules and everyone's on the same footing. And there's some people who are going to do it, and they're taking over entire buildings and putting that model in. There's some great companies out there that are doing it the right way. But
Yeah.
man, when you take 15,000, 20,000 Airbnbs off the list, it's a lot of people who now have to find a new place to stay and a new way to enjoy the city.
And to give people an idea, currently average room rates for New York City are obviously they are among the highest. I mean, their average room rates are about $235 a night. So obviously that is going to get higher. Funny. And I think it just is also like a matter of perspective of like where you live. And I mean, I've always lived in big cities from, Atlanta, Washington, D.C. I lived in New York. I live in L.A. now. And I'm like, $235 a night for a hotel in a major city, like actually seems like a deal.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
But
that might start climbing. We'll see. But when you lived in New York City, when friends came, were they hotel staying or were they Airbnb staying? What were people doing?
Okay. So no, they would. When I lived in New York City, it was before Airbnb for sure. And then when I go back now, I do always stay in a hotel. That's just because of my hotel connections, but I do have family that lives in the city. But I will say this, just for an idea of real estate. Okay, guys, let's think back to 2003. Okay. I remember looking on Craigslist at the time for an apartment, and it would be a shared apartment. And I found a place for $800. Okay. That I would be sharing with somebody else. Go to check it out. No joke. It was, as my mother called it, it was a shelf. She was renting out a shelf in her apartment. It was basically like a studio. She had a pull-out sofa, a tiny kitchen, and then had a ladder up to like a little like area that was enough space for a queen size bed. And you could like sit on the bed with barely touching the ceiling. And that was like what she was renting for $800. So,
Did you move in?
No, she also had like a bunch of cats. I was like, yo, this is a small space for like 2 people, a shelf, and 3 cats. Like I gotta, no, that's a no dog.
All right. So for that lady, we're going to make sure you put pet friendly Airbnb if you're able to stay there with her. We'll make sure that she has that listed the correct way.
Oh my God. Totally. Anyway, no, I love that. So another fun, article that's kind of come out, we were just talking about it, and we talked about this a lot last week, by the way. How great was Jan? Jan was amazing. Awesome. We had a great host or guest last week that joined us, Jan Freitag, and he really broke down a lot of the different trends that that his company is seeing. And I know Steve also agrees with me on this. It's so great to see this because it really gives you a good snapshot as far as like what's happening now. We can compare it in real time to what we're experiencing and then kind of help us navigate the future. So that was great, but kind of echoing on that. This has obviously been probably one of the most expensive years when it comes to travel and costs and all of that, but travelers' spending habits are actually set to increase going into 2024. So,
yep.
That's insane.
I just came from a conference in Orlando where Expedia, the head of Expedia, was talking, and they said that they're seeing more searches than ever on their website, and that more people are looking for unique experiences in cities that aren't usually the typical city to visit to. So now you're having more people explore not just the big cities, but all the small towns across the country and all these little places that maybe would not have got tourists before. So it's really cool to see that people are willing to spend that money.
Yeah.
And to get that experience I haven't had befefore.
No, totally. And to give you guys an idea, travelers this year were spending on average about 20% more than what they did last year. So, but again, if we're talking about the United States, let's just talk about that in itself. I mean, inflation, like it costs more to go to the grocery store. Of course, it's going to cost more to get on a plane, or of course it's going to cost more to fill up your tank or stay at a hotel. So, I mean, it's kind of part of the equation. But again, on the other side of it, like people are willing to pay. They understand. They're like, okay, things cost more. Yeah. So
like that local restaurant burger is getting more and more expensive every time I visit.
Yeah, it totally is. It totally is. In fact, Oh, wow. Oh, this is great. By the way, this was so fun. Listening from Bloomington. Um,
You got Preston, yeah, near Mall of America. So Preston,
yeah.
how's it looking your way? Are you starting to see it pick up?
You know
You got
what's
to let
so
us know in the comments.
funny? Speaking of Mall of America, I was just and my segment this morning. So I just did a live segment for Cincinnati, Fox 19, I believe is what it was, and talking all about these fall travel trends. So,
Yeah, so what are
um,
you seeing? What's happening for fall
so
travel?
travel is not slowing down. About 74% of Americans are still continuing or still planning a trip this fall. Now we're seeing a lot of people go to big city destinations, but maybe exploring it in a different way. So places like
Mhm.
San Francisco, Boston, et cetera, especially when they can kind of combine this leaf peeping. By the way, I think leaf
Ooh,
peeping, that
I haven't
concept
heard
is
that
like,
term.
oh yeah, because you're in Miami, not much leaf
Ha-
peeping
yeah,
happening.
hashtag leaf peeping. We got palm trees.
Yeah, same here, by the way, same here. We've got palm trees and just dead grass, but that's Southern California for you. But leaf peeping, so it's this, I mean, yes, you can imagine, obviously, people going to destinations, be it like Vermont, Maine, Virginia, the Carolinas, did talk about Minneapolis as well, too. There's a lot to do where people are also doing these outdoor activities. So people are taking advantage, and whether it's drive to destinations, especially if you're a family, keeping it
Mhm.
a long weekend sort of getaway, or if they're actually, flying to different cities or tacking on to a business trip. So those numbers are definitely, they're still up there. Ooh,
Yeah.
occupancy. Okay, nice.
Well,
Above
Preston's saying his
2019.
occupancy is above 2019, but the Minnesota Vikings 0-3, not driving the fans up there, Preston. Hopefully they'll play a little bit better, but they're looking a little rough this weekend.
Hilarious. Okay, what was this? Frederica, are still staycations or Americans traveling to Europe too? Interesting. I mean, now it's not as many people are traveling to Europe right now as they were, obviously, as say like in the height of summer, because you've got kids going back to school. But you do, for
Mhm.
those what we've actually found is a lot of like millennials and or people that maybe don't have kids and they aren't necessarily bound to being here to keep the kids in school. You are still seeing Americans traveling to Europe. So those that might have a little bit less restrictions or ties to keep them at home, they're still going to Europe now and into October because it's still a good time. And then you are seeing a lot of staycations or at least like local, relatively more local road trips for a lot of people. So yeah. Oh my gosh, we've got all the fun. We've got Harry Harrison. He's coming on here. If you want to know all about cruises, Harry's the guy.
Now we gotta
Harry's
get a
the
guest
guy.
on here for cruises. That'll be the next segment.
Harry, you're gonna have to come on.
So if
Jason,
I want to
oh,
do some leaf peeping, which I have not done,
yes.
and I'm a starter, where should I be going?
Ooh, Maine is great.
Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine, Vermont, beautiful this time of year. Or even you can consider the Pacific Northwest. So you can head over
Mm.
to, even Seattle, Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, my brother's there right now.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta ask
So
him what he's seeing.
exactly. He's peeping some
He's
leaves.
peeping. He's peeping some leaves and some rain, he said.
That's crazy. Oh my God. We are having way too much fun with this. This is this is hilarious. But again, what's really cool is that people are still finding different ways to get out there. So that's a good sign for all of us. And then of course, I think you always have the evergreen sort of areas like the Miami, the Southern
Mhm.
Florida destinations. People are looking into that.
Yeah.
But
And what I love seeing is that all the hoteliers right now are
mhm.
wrapping up. If they haven't wrapped up, they should have all the plans for the holidays. And so now they're
Yes.
promoting all those things. So I
Yes.
love seeing all these cool things they're creating just for
It's
people to
great.
travel and experience. So I know you and I used to be in hotels. I used to love coming up with the ideas like, all right, how are we going to wow these guests coming here this year?
It's
What are we going
so
to do that's better than
fun.
last year?
I love that
Mhm.
you bring that up because again, that's, it, I mean, I'd like to think that most hoteliers have shifted this mindset, but we are so much more than just being focused on heads and beds. It's the experience. So obviously you might be a city hotel or you might be a resort destination. Think about how you can use that to your advantage and what can you do to really like spice it up for the holidays. Funny because I'm actually going to be heading to Nashville in the beginning of in the beginning of November, and I'll be staying at the Gaylord Opryland. And if anybody stayed at a Gaylord property, you know that they go all out for the holidays.
Yep.
So winter wonderland experience. That's definitely fun for
Yeah,
everyone.
I love it.
So,
I got an article coming out today about it. So I'll share with everybody here about the
look at
top
you.
hotels and what they're putting out there and what these are doing for you all to visit.
Woo, woo. All right, let's move on to our real-time recap.
Yes. I got a good one this
Hey.
year, but I want to hear yours
Okay.
first.
What?
I want to hear yours first. What's
You want
your
to hear
real-time
mine? You're
recap?
putting me on the
Yeah.
spot. You're putting me on the spot. Actually, yes. So last week, I was doing some work with my friends over at Marriott. I work with them on the corporate level. And I happen to be staying at one of their properties in San Francisco, the Clancy Hotel. It's an autograph hotel, or autograph collection property, which, by the way, I'm such a fan of those within the bigger, umbrella of Marriott. And I'm a fan, by the way, of any sort of boutique properties under bigger umbrellas, because they always make a point to capture the essence of the city that they're in, and they get creative with the different touches that they do. But it was so sweet. So I come in, they had a wonderful amenity. They went as far as to like find my logo. They put it on the amenity card to welcome me. It was a perishable amenity. They even had it in the refrigerator. So they had a note to say, "Oh, go to the refrigerator for the rest of your goodies," which was really cute. A lot of people don't actually do that. If they're doing like a cheese plate, they put it in the room, and I'm like, yo, and I love me a cheese plate, but sometimes it can get a little bit smelly. So this was nice.
Cheesy.
Cheesy, a little cheesy. But then they were like, "Oh, we'd love to meet you." And I came downstairs, and it was the general manager. It was the head of operations, and one of their executive assistants. And they were so excited I was there. And we just had this moment of just talking about the industry, the state of it, and that connection that you have with other hoteliers. Like, we get it. It doesn't matter what city you're in, what destination you're in. If you've worked in hotels and you meet another hotelier, there's this like unspoken bond. And it was so nice to see. And I just I just felt like a part of their family, even if it was for just 24 hours. It felt so nice and welcoming. And by the way, even as a former concierge, and tying in Jeremy to this, because he's a fellow Lake Clédor concierge, Lake Clédor, the gold keys of concierge, when I would go to the conferences, or if I go to any hotel that happens to have one, there's this unspoken understanding that like we are part of the same family. And I think that that's what's so cool and unique about the hospitality industry, is that you can connect with anybody. It's like, if you've worked in any form of hospitality, you've been in the trenches, and it's this unspoken bond. And I love that. And it was it just made me so grateful for the industry that we work in, that you can immediately have these connections with people. So that was my very long-winded real-time recap. But like, man,
they connected with you this week. You felt it.
I know, it was so nice. And I also got to see my fellow Los Angeles concierge last night. I went to an event, and it was just this reminder, even though some of us might not be working at particular hotels anymore, we're still family, and you just can't take that away from us. So I really hope that wherever you guys are tuning in from, you take a moment to connect with fellow hospitality people, whether you were working cruises, whether you work in hotels, short-term rentals, whatever that is, connect with those individuals, because we're a special breed.
It's true. It's true. And I'm happy to be connected to you, Sarah, and all you out there listening. And I want to give my real-time recap this week. It was actually one I was very excited about. It's a company called Brightline Trains. And if you haven't heard of Brightline, they just built a multi-billion-dollar private train that goes from Miami to Orlando. And so they just opened the Orlando trip on this past Friday. And I took it to the conference on Monday.
How was it? Super easy?
It was awesome. And I want to give a shout out to the president, Patrick Goddard, because he's a former hotelier. And we hired all former hoteliers. So every train station that you stop at feels like a luxe hotel lobby with bars and cafes and shops. Everyone is ultra nice when you're walking through there, asking how you're doing. And I didn't ask for any special perks or anything. I just wanted to experience it as a normal guest, and it was phenomenal. So if you're traveling across Florida, that's a great way to do it. And now they're going to start building Los Angeles to Las Vegas is their next project.
Oh,
So
they're
you
going to
might
be the
have it
ones
too.
behind that. Oh, that's
Yeah,
going to be
that's Brightline
amazing.
Trains. So I
Oh,
love it. I was bragging about it while I was at this conference, and people are like, "Do you work for them?" I was like, "No, but I
you're like,
enjoyed it
no, I
so
just have.
much because I
But
hate
again,
driving on the interstate." So that
that
was the best way to do
reminder,
it.
that like you can, what they did for you, you had such a great experience that you were telling everybody about it.
Yeah, everybody.
And yeah, so reminder to
And I'm
always
telling
do.
all of you. So
Yeah,
treat people
exactly.
the right way. Hire hospitality professionals, no matter what you're building. They'll treat
Lead
people
with
the
the
right way.
guest experience. Exactly. Okay. Well, we're kind of getting short on time here, but I
Yep.
definitely want to make sure that we touch on our hospitality quote. So I thought this was actually really cool. Because this came out by Barry Sterlick, by the way. I'm trying to surprise and delight the guest. Now you call it an Instagram moment. Does anyone need to take a picture of this? And if you haven't succeeded, then do something different. So what I liked about this, I mean, it's a little, it sounds a little disjointed because I think but it's understanding that these Instagrammable moments are kind of how we're surprising and delighting people. And you can do that. They'll take a picture, they'll share it online on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever. And next thing you know, you're able to, it's free marketing, so to speak. Okay. Yeah. It might have
Mhm.
cost as much as like the bottle of champagne or, the espresso martini that you gave to a guest, but whatever it is, these little moments don't have to cost you a lot. But again, if somebody's going to take a picture of it and share it online, so worth it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think we walk through hotels and there's little things I notice now. Like, wow, someone thought about that little detail, added
Totally.
it in. I take a picture and share it. And it's like sometimes the most popular pictures I post are just random little things that was someone's idea just to make someone's life a little bit better.
Totally. Oh, actually, while I was at the Clancy, they had a little, oh my gosh, what are why can't I remember? The Rubik's Cube. They had a Rubik's Cube with their logo on the side. And so you had to, by the way, I've never solved a Rubik's Cube in my life. I need to learn the ways of it. But I
Mhm.
tried. I was like, if I could do anything, at least I could get the logo right, which I did do. But I'm
Yep.
like, how fun is this? I've never seen a hotel. And how much did that really cost to get a Rubik's Cube
Yeah.
with
A
like the
couple
logo of
bucks.
the hotel on it? It was such a fun thing and like a cool experience. Of course, I took a photo of it and talked about it online. So again, simple things can really go a long way. So love this quote and that reminder.
I love it. It's a good one for today.
Totally. All right. Well, that being said, we are here at the end of our show.
I can't believe it. This flies by. I always want to hang out with you longer, Sarah. These shows go too quick.
Don't worry. Next time, I'm also going to have a soundtrack too. So if you guys have any songs that you like, definitely share your song requests right here. We're going to keep them PG just because that's what we do. But let us know. We can start every segment with a song and a little bit of a dance. Okay, so that being said, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode and our previous episodes. If you have questions, be sure share them with us now. Later, we can address them next week. Or if you have a topic that's going on that you want to hear us do a deep dive on, let us know. A guest, let us know. You name it. We are here for you. We want to make sure that this is interesting and you get something out of it. So definitely let us know what you like and be sure to join in wherever you listen to your podcasts. But there is also the GMC report, by the way. Just want to remind everybody about that. So Good Morning Hospitality has the GMC report. It's this dynamic report that showcases hospitality businesses that have received venture capital, private equity funding, along with company acquisition. So if you are in that space and you want to find out what's moving where, who recently got received capital, whatever that is, definitely sign up for this report. Really useful insight. So sign up for that. Well, next time we'll make sure we'll share that link on here as well too. So
Absolutely. And then the big thank you to Michael, Jason, Bernice, and Federica. I see you guys commenting. Make sure to subscribe, leave us a rating, leave us a comment because it'll help others
all of that.
discover us and grow our community here. And we can all hang out here on Wednesday mornings.
Exactly. And a big thank you to producer Claire in the background, who is making sure that we all look good, aside from my
Well, your sunlight came up. So,
my
I can see the Los Angeles sun hitting you.
Good morning. Well, this is great. So thank you guys for tuning in and join us next week.
We'll see you next week, everybody.
Woo!